All right, guys, we're on Exodus chapter 9. Let's get right to it. Remember, we're reading in the CSB version, so Christian Standard Bible version. So let's get right to it. Chapter 9, the fifth plague, death of the livestock. That's what the title is. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go in to the Pharaoh and say to him, 'This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says: Let my people go, so that they will worship me. But if you refuse to let them go, keep holding them, then the Lord's hand will bring a severe plague against your livestock in the field, the horses, the donkeys, the camels, herds, and flocks. But the Lord will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Egypt, so that nothing of all that the Israelites own will die.' And the Lord set a time, saying, 'Tomorrow the Lord will do this thing in the land.' The Lord did this the next day. All the Egyptian livestock died, but none among the Israelites' livestock died. The Pharaoh sent messengers who saw that not a single one of the Israelites' livestock was dead. But Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he did not let the people go. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, 'Take handfuls of furnace soot, and Moses is to throw it toward heaven in the sight of Pharaoh, and it will become fine dust over the entire land of Egypt. It will become festering boils on people and animals throughout the land of Egypt.' So that they took the furnace soot and stood before the Pharaoh. Moses threw it towards the heaven, and it became festering boils on people and animals. The magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils were on the magicians as well as the Egyptians. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not listen to them, as the Lord had told Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Get up early in the morning and present yourself to Pharaoh, and tell him, this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says: Let my people go, so that they will worship me. For this time I am about to send all my plagues against you, your officials and your people. Then you will know there is no one like me on the whole earth. But by now I could have stretched my hand and struck you and your people with a plague, and you would have been obliterated from the earth. However, I have let you live for this purpose, to show you my power and to make my name known on the whole earth. You are still acting arrogantly against my people by not letting them go. Tomorrow at this time I will rain down the worst hail that you've ever occurred in Egypt from the day it was founded until now. Therefore give orders to bring your livestock and all that you have in the field into the shelters. Every person and animal that is in the field and not bring inside will die when the hail falls on the ground.' These among Pharaoh's officials who feared the word of the Lord made their servants and livestock flee to shelters. But those who didn't take to heart the Lord's word left their servants' livestock in the field. Excuse me. Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Stretch out your hand toward heaven, and let there be hail throughout the land of Egypt, on people and animals of every plant in the field in the land of Egypt.' So Moses stretched out his staff toward heaven, and the Lord sent thunder and hail. Lightning struck the land, and the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. The hail and the lightning flashing. The hail with the lightning flashing through it was so severe that nothing like it had occurred in the land of Egypt since it had become a nation. Throughout the land of Egypt, the hail struck down everything in the field, both people and animals. The hail beat down every plant in the field and shattered every tree in the field. The only place it didn't hail was the land of Goshen, where the Israelites were. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron. 'I have sinned this time,' he said to them. 'The Lord is the righteous one, and I and my people are the guilty ones. Make an appeal to the Lord that there has been enough of God's thunder and hail. I will let you go. You don't need to stay any longer.' Moses said to him, 'When I have left the city, I will spread my hand out to the Lord. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know the earth belongs to the Lord. As for you and your officials, I know you still do not fear the Lord God.' The flax and the barley were destroyed because the barley was ripe, and the flax was budding. But the wheat and the spelt were not destroyed, since they were later crops. Moses left Pharaoh in the city and spread out his hands to the Lord. Then the thunder and hail ceased, and the rain no longer poured down on the land. When Pharaoh saw that the rain, hail, and thunder had ceased, he sinned again and hardened his heart, he and his officials. So Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he did not let the Israelites go. So the Lord had said to Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, Go to the Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his officials, so that I may do these miraculous signs of mine among them. And so you may tell your son, the grandson, how severely I dealt with the Egyptians and performed miraculous signs among them, and you will know that I am the Lord. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and told him, this is what the Lord God of the Hebrews says. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go, that they may worship me. But if you refuse to do so, we're in chapter 10, by the way, verse 4. But if you refuse to let my people go, then tomorrow I will bring locusts into your territory. They will cover the surface of the land so that no one will be able to see the land. They will eat the remainder left to you that escaped from the hail. They will eat every tree that you have growing in the fields. They will fill your houses, all your officials' houses, and the house of the Egyptians. Something your fathers and grandfathers never saw since the time they had occupied the land until today. Then he turned and left Pharaoh's presence. Pharaoh's officials asked him, how long must this man be a snare to us? Let the man go so that they may worship their God. They may worship the Lord their God. Don't you realize that Egypt is devastated? So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. Go worship your Lord, the Lord your God, Pharaoh said. But exactly who will be going? Moses replied, well, we will go with our young and our old. We will go with our sons and our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds, because we must hold the Lord's festival. He said to them, the Lord would have to be with you if I would ever let you and your families go. Look out, you're heading for trouble. No, go, just able-bodied men, worship the Lord, since that's what you want. And they were driven from Pharaoh's presence. The Lord then said to Moses, stretch out your hand over Egypt, the land of Egypt, and the locusts will come up over it and eat every plant in the land, everything that hail left. So Moses stretched out his staff over the land of Egypt, and the Lord sent the east wind over the land all that day and throughout the night. By morning, the east wind had brought up the locust. The locust went up over the entire land of Egypt and settled on the whole territory of Egypt. Never before had there been such a large number of locusts, and there never will be again. They covered the surface of the whole land so that the land was black, and they consumed all the plants on the ground, and all the fruit of the trees, and all the trees that the hail had left. Nothing green was left on the trees, or the plants in the field throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh urgently sent Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Please forgive my sin once more and make an appeal to the Lord your God, so that he will just take this death away from me. Moses left Pharaoh's presence and appealed to the Lord. Then the Lord changed the wind to the strong west, to a strong west wind, and it carried off the locusts and blew them to the Red Sea. Not a single locust was left in the territory of Egypt, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the Israelites go. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward heaven, and there will be the darkness over the land of Egypt, a darkness that can be felt. So Moses stretched out his hand toward the heaven, and there was a thick darkness throughout the land of Egypt for 3 days. One person could not see another, and for 3 days they did not move from where they were. Yet the Israelites had light where they lived. Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, go worship the Lord. Even your families may go with you. Only your flocks and herds must stay behind. Moses responded, you must also let us have sacrifice and burnt offerings to prepare for the Lord our God. Even our livestock must go with us. Not a hoof will be left behind, because we will take some of them to worship our God, worship the Lord our God. We will not know what we will use to worship the Lord until we get there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was unwilling to let them go. And Pharaoh said to them, leave me. Make sure you never see my face again, for on the day you see my face, you will die. Dang. He was mad. As you have said, Moses replied, I will never see your face again. The 10th plague. Here we go. Chapter 11. The Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh, on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will drive you out of here. Now announce to the people that both men and women should ask their neighbors for silver and gold items. The Lord gave the people favor with the Egyptians. In addition, Moses himself was very highly regarded in the land of Egypt by Pharaoh's officials and the people. So Moses said, "This is what the Lord says. About midnight I will go throughout Egypt, and every firstborn male in the land of Egypt will die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne to the firstborn of the servant girl who is at the grindstones, as well as every firstborn of every livestock. Then there will be a great cry of anguish throughout all the land of Egypt, such as never was before or ever will be. But against all the Israelites, whether people or animals, not even a dog or snarl, so that you may know that the Lord makes distinction between Egypt and Israel. All these officials of yours will come down to me and bow before me, saying, 'Get out, you and all the people who follow you.' After that, I will get out." And then he went out from Pharaoh's presence, fiercely angry. And he went out from Pharaoh's presence, fiercely angry. The Lord said to Moses, "Pharaoh will not listen to you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt." Moses and Aaron did all the wonders before Pharaoh, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go out of this land. Chapter 12. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, in the land of Egypt, "This month is the beginning of the months for you. It is the first month of your year. Tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month they must each select an animal of the flock according to their fathers' families, one animal per family. If the household is too small for a whole animal, that person and the neighbor's nearest house are to select one based on the combined number of people. You should apportion the animal according to what each will eat. You must have an unblemished animal, a year-old male, and you may take it from either the sheep or the goats. You are to keep it until the 14th day of this month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel will slaughter the animals at twilight. They must take some of the blood and put it on the doorpost and the lintel of the houses where they eat them. They are to eat the meat that night. They should eat it roasted over the fire along with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of the raw or cooked in boiling water, but only the roasted over fire, its head as well as its legs, the inner organs. You must not leave any of it until morning. Any part of it left until morning you must burn. Here is how you must eat it. You must be dressed for travel, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you are to eat it in a hurry. It is the Lord's Passover. I will pass over the land of Egypt on that night and strike every firstborn male in the land of Egypt, both people and animals. I am the Lord. I will execute judgments against all the gods of Egypt. The blood on the houses where you are staying will be a distinguishing mark for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. No plague will be among you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day is to be memorable for you, and you must celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. You are to celebrate it throughout your generations as a permanent statue. You must eat unleavened bread for 7 days. On the first day you must remove yeast from your houses. Whoever eats with what is leavened from the first day throughout the 7th day must be cut off from Israel. You are to hold a sacred assembly on the first day and another sacred assembly on the 7th day. No work may be done on those days except for preparing what people need to eat. You may do only that. You are to observe the festival of unleavened bread because of this. On this very day I brought your military divisions out of the land of Egypt. You must observe this day throughout all of your generations as a permanent statute. You are to eat unleavened bread in the first month from the beginning of the 14th day of the month until the evening of the 21st day. Yeast must not be found in your houses for 7 days. If anyone eats something unleavened, that person, whether a resident alien or a native of the land, must be cut off from the community of Israel. Do not eat anything leavened. Eat unleavened bread in your homes. Then Moses summoned all the elders in Israel and said to them, "Go select an animal from the flock according to your families and slaughter the Passover animal. Take a cluster of hyssop, dip it in the blood, that is in a basin, and brush the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood in the basin. None of you may go to the door of his house until morning. When the Lord passes through to strike Egypt and sees the blood on the lintel and the two doorposts, he will pass over the door and not let the destroyer enter your houses and strike you. Keep the commandment permanently as statute for you and your descendants. When you enter the land that the Lord will give you as he promised, you are to observe this ceremony. When your children ask you, what does the ceremony mean to you? You are to reply, it is a Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he passed over the house of the Israelites in Egypt, and he struck the Egyptians and spared our homes. So let the people know. Well, so the people knelt low and worshiped. Then the Israelites went and did this. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. Now, at midnight, the Lord struck every firstborn male in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat in his throne to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon, every firstborn of the livestock. During that night, Pharaoh got up, he along with his officials and Egyptians, and there was a loud wailing throughout Egypt because there wasn't a house without someone dead. He summoned Moses and Aaron during the night and said, "Get out immediately from among my people, both you and the Israelites, and go worship the Lord as you have said. Take even your flocks and your herds as you have asked, and leave, and also bless me." Now the Egyptians pressured the people in order to send them quickly out of the country, for they said, "We are all going to die." So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped up in their clothes on their shoulders. The Israelites acted on Moses' word and asked the Egyptians for silver and gold items for the clothing. The Lord gave the people such favor with the Egyptians that they gave them what they requested. In this they plundered the Egyptians. The Israelites traveled from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 able-bodied men on foot, besides their families. A mixed crowd also went with them, along with a huge number of livestock, both flocks and herds. People had baked the dough and had brought out of Egypt into unleavened loaves, since it had no yeast, for they were driven out of Egypt, and they could not delay and had not prepared provisions for themselves. The time that the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430 years, on the same day, all the Lord's military divisions went out from the land of Egypt. It was a night of vigil in honor of the Lord, because he would bring them out of the land of Egypt. This same night is in honor of the Lord, a night vigil for the Israelites throughout their generations. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the statute of Passover. No foreigner may eat it, but any slave a man has purchased may eat it after you have circumcised him. A temporary resident or hired worker may not eat the Passover. It has been eaten. It is to be eaten in one house. You may not take any of the meat outside the house, and you may not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate it. If an alien resident among you wants to observe the Lord's Passover, every male in his household must be circumcised. Then he may participate. He will become like a native of the land. But no uncircumcised person may eat of it. The same law will apply to both the native and the alien who is resident among you." Then all the Israelites did this. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. On the same day, the Lord brought the Israelites out of the land of Egypt according to their military divisions. And that is the end of chapter 12. And Pharaoh was stupid. I mean, say at least, he's just like, bro, come on. Like, how many times are you going to get messed up before you decide? Like, you waited till all that? You waited all of that to say no? I mean, come on. I would have been just like, I could just stick a fork in me, like, you know what I mean? Especially after the locust. I mean, before that, the hail and everything was said was like, I've been good. I'm good. Would have gave it immediately. All right, next time, chapter 13.